Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. This video comes to you the day before Halloween here in the States, and it seems like an appropriate time to talk about our favorite Shambling Walkers. That's right, it's the long-awaited blue-black zombie deck. But before we get into all that, allow me to take a moment. We made it to our first spoken goal, folks. We've hit 100 subs on the channel, and I think nothing celebrates a milestone like talking about the next goal. And I read somewhere in educating myself about YouTube that the time it takes you to go from 0 to 100 subs is the same amount of time that it will take you to go from 100 to 1,000. So we're about a year into, well, frankly, taking the channel seriously at any level. So my next goal is to hit 1,000 subs within the year. By September 2022. And I know I can't do it without you. You see, we're not one of those huge channels out there. Around here, you matter. And that's why I want to take this moment and say thank you to all the folks you see here on your screen who not only supported us and helped us get to this goal of 100 subs, but have also chosen to make their subscription public. You see, what a lot of you don't realize is that the YouTube algorithm doesn't really support channels like this. For whatever reason, they don't push content designed for new players, free-to-play players, or budget players. And I would like to reteach the algorithm. I would like to teach them that this content is relevant and that our audience and our community matters. And while I know I can't do that, I think we can. So with that in mind, in addition to the usual like, comment, and subscribe that I'm sure you hear all the time from YouTube channels, there's two special things I would like you to do in order to help us grow the channel. The first off is, if you are finding value in this content, share it out to your social media platforms so that your friends, family, colleagues, whatever, can find that same value in what we're doing here. And secondly, let me ask you to allow the video to play all the way to the end. Because if you just click into the video, grab the deck list, and then click back out, you might be giving YouTube the impression that you didn't like the video, and then it's less likely to push it out. So do me the favor, push it out to your social media, watch it to the end, and let's send a positive message for our budget community. Now, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah, right. So it's a little early for me to talk about this deck, at least in my opinion, because at this point, zombies as a tribe is not really supported by our new player experience. In fact, we got a lot more support for vampires, which hopefully we'll be using to a great extent in the next couple of weeks. So since our new player experience isn't very zombie strong, what is a fair base for me to start recommending a budget zombie deck? And the answer is these two jump-in standard decks. Between the two of them, you get pretty much 60-70% of a complete deck, which is not bad for an investment of 2,000 gold. Of course, whether you get these two or not remains to be seen, but I do believe it's a fair place to start for a budget deck. So when you combine those two decks together, this is pretty much what you get. And I think this is a pretty fair starting point. But as you can see, as I haven't actually gotten those two particular jump-in decks, my collection is a little hit and miss. And don't feel bad if yours is the same way. This is not one of those decks that we're looking to build today, but gradually over the course of this budget year. I just felt like today was an appropriate time to start talking about what that deck may look like and kind of give us a baseline and something to start building upon. And of course, over the course of the next year, this could change dramatically. Zombies is one of those creature types that is going to come out continually over the course of the year. And this deck is going to change quite a bit, which is why we don't want to rush in and spend a bunch of wild cards in order to get something that we may not be using a month from now. So now let's talk about some very budget-friendly ways to fill in some of these blanks that we have still in our deck. And I think the most obvious move we can make is search up zombies in our collection. Now, of course, your collection is going to look different from mine. That is the nature of Arena. But a card that I want to draw attention to that I know all of you have is Shambling Ghast. This is probably one of the best 1-drops available to black at the moment, and I know that you got 3 copies of this in your new player experience. And along with that, if you're going to play the old Shambler, you should also be running Deadly Dispute. I have 3 copies, but I know you have at least 2. So that is 5 cards into our deck that I automatically know you have. Now beyond that, I want to add our single copy of Bloodchief's Thirst. I know you got that in your new player experience, and it's a great card. Along with that, let's add in a copy of Soul Shatter, again, that I know you got with your new player experience. In addition, let's talk about a nice little combat trick, Feign Death. I know that you have 3 copies of that in your new player experience. And to my mind, it actually fits very nicely with the theme of this particular deck. And lastly, well, not lastly, but lastly from the list I have made here, let's talk about Graven Lore. Since we are running that snow-based mana, we have a copy of that, absolutely. I happen to have 3. I don't know that 3 is the right number, but I feel very confident that your deck improves with 1 copy, so make sure to add that in. Now, next up, we need to talk about the Lord cards, because no tribal deck is really complete without a significant number of Lords. And Zombies right now has several interesting Lords. The first being the Bladestitched Skaab. We're going to up our count on that to 2. I don't think that's unrealistic. And also the Death-Priest of Myrkul. Let's add that up to 2. And the last thing that I really want to talk about in this deck from our list is the Malakir Rebirth. You may not have multiple copies of this. I do know that you have 1, I believe, that came in our new player experience. Or perhaps I am just expecting you to have that from our 2 jump-in decks. But I don't think 2 is the right number. I'm cutting a copy of that in part because I have Feign Death. And I think that's just an overall better mix. So there we are, guys. That gives us a nice starting 60 cards for a zombie deck for, well, what is really very early in the budget season. This gives you something to start aiming for, and of course, if your collection is a little bit different, by all means, tweak it up. In fact, let's take a look at the zombies once again here. And let's see why. Oh, I just need zombie, not zombies. What a difference. So let's talk about some cards here that we haven't included that would be very good choices. Or to flip the coin a little bit, I know that you have a copy of Asarak, and he is a zombie, but I'm not sure he's right for this particular deck. On the flip side, if your jump-in deck happens to come with a copy of White, That is a fantastic turn 2 card and would easily replace something like Siege Zombie if you happen to have it. The other card that I really wanted to talk about is Priest of the Haunted Edge. Since we are running a snow base, this becomes very nice removal. And again, it is a great substitute against something like Siege Zombie because it does very much the same job. And in my opinion, in this version of the deck, a little bit more efficiently. But there it is, guys. That is a really simple 60 card zombie themed tribal deck that I think will do a world of good for your collection. Oh, and I'm not sure how I left this out of the Lord analysis, but this guy's pretty good too. I would say 1 or 2 is probably your optimal build, especially since it has the ability to be recursive. I don't know that I'd put more than 1 or 2 copies in the deck, but if you have it, it's definitely worth running. Alright, so with all that having been said, don't forget, smash the like button like Hulk would. And of course, comment and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And one last thing, myself, I'm coming to you from America, and I have noticed that about 1/3 of my viewership is coming from the US, and about 1/3 is coming from various countries. And there's about 1/3 of my viewership that is just getting lumped into other. So to let me know you got to the end of the video, throw me a comment down in there and let me know where you are watching from.